Hey guys, I had an interesting question I wanted to ask you guys. So I have a friend who did a course. She's like the master at happiness. She's amazing. But one of the things she was talking about is how we are responsible and control of everything in our lives. And a lot of people got really upset about that. And I have friends who I've talked to about these kind of concepts. And some of them love it because it empowers them, and some of them get angry because they feel like they're being told things like your cancer is your fault or whatever. And I'm curious, what do you think? Are you okay with the idea that we are in control of everything that happens to us, we do, whatever? Do you hate the concept? I was talking to her and I said, well, I think there's a lot of things that are within our control. There are certain things. We can choose what career paths we're going down. We can choose to influence our health in a certain way. Some things, generically, like there's nothing we can do if that's just gonna happen. So I think there are some things that just happen. The one thing I do think is always within our control is how we respond. It's our attitude towards what's happening and how we choose to write the story of what's happening in our minds. Now, I am not saying that is easy. That is way easier said than done. Because when you're talking about something like cancer, for example, and I am not judging anyone for this at all. This is just a discussion point. But if you are someone who was dealing with that, okay, can you look at it and say, well, this was the reason everything happened, this is the story behind it, and you choose to see it a certain way, like it made you stronger so that you can have a certain outlook and help people in a certain way, or it led you down a different path. So for me personally, I had about a year and a half, 2 years that I got really sick. I had extreme vertigo, extreme nausea, and I was in the fitness field. So suddenly, here I am, I can't even work out myself. If I look up, everything's spun. I went to specialists, no one could find out what was going on. The one thing we found is that perhaps stress, which is why I work so much on meditation and mindset. I mean, I worked on mindset before, but I really got deep into the learning to calm down because of that. But I can look at that and say, well, this is just a shit deal and this sucks. Or I can look at it and say, okay, but it actually took me down a different path, and that was good. Because at the time, I was in the fitness field. And then as that happened, I started writing more about fitness instead of doing the actual training. And then eventually I wound up getting a new camera. I'd done photography for a long time in my youth, but I didn't have a camera anymore. So my husband bought me a new camera because I was doing a lot on nutrition. And so I was creating recipes and whatnot, and I needed a camera to take pictures. So I get this camera, I take pictures, I start posting them, and then I start getting other people wanting me to take their photos of their food. And then it transformed into other people wanting me to take photos of other things. And then it just took me down this path to where eventually I became really good at photography, graphic design, photo manipulation, and I love it. I actually love it way more than I loved my fitness career. But that would have never happened if I would not have gotten sick. So all I'm pointing out is sometimes we can change our mind about what's going on. Now, when you're in the thick of it, that's very difficult. Sometimes it's a retrospect thing. For that one, it was a retrospect. I was trying to really have faith that everything was going to be okay, that I was going down the right path, but it was hard. And I'm not much of a crier, but I was breaking down sometimes because it was just so difficult and I was so sick of being sick. But so I could take control, I could take responsibility for my sickness too if I wanted to. I could say, well, it was too much stress, this and that, but I don't know. I don't know for sure if keeping my stress in check would have fixed that. I don't know if a different diet would have fixed that. My diet was really good at that time. So I don't know if taking responsibility for the sickness itself would have really helped, but there are things I can do to influence it. But I think the one thing we do fully have control over, if we work at it, is our mindset about things. And like I said, in the moment, you may not. It may be a retrospect thing, because that is really difficult. When you're really sick and in pain, it's really hard to see the purpose, the meaning, that there's anything good in it at all. I get that. But start with the retrospect. Start with the what things happened, and change your mind about what it was and make it part of your story. Can it empower you? So I was just thinking about what she said about taking responsibility. I'm curious about what you guys think, because I know people range with this one. Some people are like, yeah, I'm fully in control, and they love the feeling of empowerment it gives them. And some people hate it. I have people very close to me that find it insulting and terrible. So I'm not going to say which one's right or wrong. I'm not going to say for sure that we're in charge of everything that happens to us. I'm not going to say that we're not. I'm not going to say that there is or isn't a purpose, because that's so individualized. I know for me, I took it as a meaning, as a purpose, but not everybody's going to. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? Tell me.